Making friends as an adult is hard. It's just not as simple as when you were a kid. You can no longer walk up to someone and say, hey, wanna be friends? If you do that, they'll probably think you're some sort of weirdo loser and walk away laughing at you, because what kind of adult doesn't have any friends? After all, you went to school, right? I mean, how did you make it all the way through middle school, high school, and maybe even some college and still end up alone? Yeah, you're definitely a weirdo. Trying to make friends as a fully functional adult is embarrassing. It's awkward. It's just plain difficult. Except that none of those things are true. Making friends as an adult is actually incredibly easy. In fact, it really is as simple as asking someone if they want to be your friend. Sure, it may be a little unorthodox, but I promise you that if you asked enough people that question, eventually somebody would say yes. That said, there is a more practical, perhaps more socially accepted way to go about this. And the great thing is you can start today, right now. Well, after you watch this video. But it's not very long, so you can start in approximately 6 minutes. So sit back, relax, and let us learn how to make friends as an adult. Okay, to start it all off, and this may come as a surprise to some of you, but the first step to making friends is to simply go where people are. Yep, that's the big reveal. But seriously, if you never leave your room or your apartment or your house, you're never gonna make any friends, because people aren't just gonna randomly show up in those places, nor do you want them to. That would frankly be kind of startling. So you've got to take it upon yourself to go where people are. You've got to put yourself in public spaces where you can meet people who can potentially become your friends. But there's a little bit more to it than that. You have to put yourself in places where there are other people who have similar interests as you. If you enjoy reading books, go to the library or join a book club. If you're into skateboarding, go to your local skate park. You get the idea. The reason it helps to get around people who have the same interests as you is because it gives you a good starting point to making friends. It gives you a common interest or shared passion for something that you may be able to bond over, that will bring you closer and lead towards forming a meaningful connection, hopefully a deep friendship. And no, I'm not saying that your friends need to be exactly like you, but it just helps to make them. But it is okay to have friends who have different interests than you. I have several friends who really enjoy going to raves. I've never been to one. Would I attend? Sure, maybe, but it's not something that's ever really caught my interest. But are we still close friends despite this difference? You bet your ass we are. That said, if you're struggling to make friends, common interests just serve as an easy segue to start a conversation, which, funny enough, leads to tip number 2. Okay, the second big reveal when it comes to making friends is that simply getting around people with common interests is not enough. This may be shocking to some of you, but once you're around people, you have to interact with them. Yeah, this is the part where you gotta start talking to people. And I know this is the hardest part for a lot of you, but we're in a good position to do this because we're around people who have common interests. You see how this is all tying together? So, the way you do this is simple. You can easily start a conversation in one of 2 ways. By asking a question, or by giving a compliment. For example, say you like to read, so you went to the library and saw a person you think you may want to talk to. Look at the book they're holding or the section they're in and ask them a question. If they're in the fiction aisle, for example, you could ask something like, hey, I'm new to fiction and I'm not really sure where to start. Do you have any book recommendations for me? Where the conversation goes from here will depend entirely on their answer, but congratulations, you just initiated a conversation with a potential new friend. One thing to keep in mind here though, when they respond to your question or your compliment or whatever way you decide to start the conversation, make sure to listen attentively. Pay attention to what they're telling you and show real, genuine interest in whatever it is they're saying. This is part of why it's helpful to put yourself in an environment where you already have some interest. In his book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie wrote, you can make more friends in 2 months by becoming genuinely interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you. Honestly, showing genuine interest in other people and the things they say is a cheat code to making friends. Trust me on this, it's the best piece of advice I've ever heard on the subject. When it comes to people, be interested, not interesting. Speaking of great pieces of advice when it comes to friendship, another great one I've heard is that you should date your friends.
What?
Pause.
Now hold up, before you start saying pause and calling me sus, let me explain. I don't mean date in a literal sense like going on a date with a girlfriend or asking someone to be your Valentine, but the overall concept is the same. When you're dating someone, you want them to like you, so you go out of your way to do things with them, to spend time with them, to ask them how life is going. This helps to build a strong emotional connection between yourself and the person you're dating. But if you really think about it, friendships work almost the exact same way. Basically, most of the things you would do with someone you're into, you should also be doing with your friends. Make time to hang out with them, go out to dinner, ask them for regular updates on their life. Leave all the romantic stuff out of it, of course, because that is highly sus, but in practice, everything else is virtually indistinguishable. In the same way that this helps to build strong emotional connections with romantic partners, it also helps to build strong bonds between friends. At the end of the day, all relationships are about effort, and that holds true for friendships. Make an effort to show your friends you care about them, and those friendships may very well last a lifetime. Okay, cool, so now you know how to easily make friends, but I want to touch on a couple more things that are very important to keep in mind. In fact, this is actually almost as important as learning how to make friends in the first place, and that is the hard truth that not everyone is going to be your friend. Even if you have a great conversation with someone, or if someone really likes your compliment, or even if they compliment you, it doesn't mean that you're going to go on to be the best of friends. But that's okay. Let me tell you why. The phrase quality over quantity has never been more true than when you're talking about friendships. One real, deep, and meaningful friendship far outweighs 10 watered-down, borderline acquaintance friendships. Don't judge the source on this next quote, but Al Capone wasn't talking about money when he said, "I'd rather have 4 quarters than 100 pennies." I know, not exactly a pillar of society or someone you should even be taking advice from, but he was spot on with that quote. One more thing to keep in mind is that friend making shouldn't be strictly focused on other people. It's equally as important to befriend yourself. You have to learn to do things alone. Take yourself out to dinner. Go to a coffee shop by yourself. Embrace your own solitude and learn to enjoy your own company. Because when you learn to be kind to yourself, when you learn to love yourself, only then can you truly share that with other people. But with that, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Consider watching this video next, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.